Hey guys, Darren Kelly, coach of Wise Pods, and welcome back to another captain's episode heading into round 9, I believe. So, this round looks like it's going to be pretty complicated for captains. So, it's one of those vital weeks to really nail your captain option because you can get a bit of a leg up on the competition. But by now, you probably should have a fairly few options in your team where you're fairly confident that they're going to have some decent weeks, most weeks, or you can just rely on them as pretty stable captains each and every week. So I think we'll find some decent options, but probably there's no obvious option of someone who's just absolutely going to nail it this week. We've had the likes of Max Gawn the last couple of weeks. He's obviously been one that has been highly captained with some very good matchups, but there's no clear massive option this week. So these are the weeks that are probably most vital when it comes to fantasy coaching, because you really can get a leg up on the competition that when people start to struggle a little bit. So just quickly looking at how I did last week, I was very impressed with how I did last week, particularly 9th overall in the week. Had the two big boys up there with Max Gorn number 1, Sheasel number 2, so I feel like I nailed those two. It was really probably just the bottom 3, which I was happy with 3 and 4. Probably got them the wrong way around, but it doesn't really matter either way. They both did very well. It was really just the 5th option, Brayshaw. I should have included Dawson in there. He was my number 6, I believe. So yeah, it would have been nice to include them instead. But yeah, Brayshaw did cop a bit of attention in that game, and just Frere didn't rock up. So it is what it is. Doing okay overall. But overall, my captains has definitely improved over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that. So what are we looking at this week? So like I said, it was pretty tough in my opinion. When I was looking through the fixture, there was no clear-cut, obvious option. Okay, I've got to absolutely captain this guy, or this is a guy that I'm targeting because of this particular option. We obviously know that the likes of Richmond and West Coast are versing each other this week, so that knocks out 2 of the best options to captain against this week, and you probably don't have either people in your side, so either any of those premiums, because they haven't been performing well. So it takes out 2 of the better options to go, and there's a lot of blockbusters this weekend. So who's my number 1? I have just gone with a safe option, and I have gone Nick Dayos tonight against Fremantle Dockers. He scored a 133 against them last year at Optus Stadium, so no difficulties over there. He just trucks along, does what he likes. Freo have been giving up a few points to midfielders, not massive, but just last week particularly, they gave up a 139 to Jack McRae. We saw him go massive in the last quarter, particularly. And they've also given up a 129 to Chad Warner back in round 1 as well. So they have given up a fair few ceiling scores, and I do expect Nick Dacos, someone of his caliber, to do very well. I don't see any particular tagging option for them, unless, they've obviously brought in Neil Erasmus, whether or not he does a bit of a defensive work on him, being included in that midfield. But I think they're going to leave, Brayshaw and Sarong to do their thing, to be those midfield guys. Maybe a Johnson does a bit of work on him, but I just don't think any of them are going to be able to touch him with the form he's in at the moment. Obviously, before the 92 last week, he was absolutely flying. I think was averaging somewhere around 125. With 3 scores over 130. So, and even last weekend with the 92, that was with 4 points in the last quarter. If he had a decent last quarter, he would have hit a 110, if not a 120. So he's in some ripping form. So fingers crossed he can get the job done tonight. I think he'll be a very popular option. Number 2, I have gone with the likes of Harry Sheasel up against Brisbane Lions. Now, at the initial start, I didn't think it was that good of an option, but when you look back at the record that Harry Sheasel has at Ninja Stadium, I just don't think he can go past it too hard. So he has gone 125, 106, 118, and 123 across the 4 games at Ninja Stadium last season. Now, and that was a mixture of, halfback role, midfield, some even forward time in there as well. So he just loves it there, clearly averaging, high, nearly 120 over there. So I think he'll be a very good option this weekend up against Brisbane Lions. He also scored a 121 against Brisbane Lions specifically last year, which wasn't at Ninja Stadium, but yeah, doesn't mind the matchup either. So the only question mark is if they start to give him a bit of attention, which I'm doubtful, because again, there's been a lot of scrutiny around Harry Sheasel's ball usage. It hasn't been that impactful as of late. He's getting plenty of disposals, particularly off halfback, but it hasn't been as impactful as what a lot of other people expect him to be. So I don't see too much attention going there. Either way, he's an awesome player and he should get the job done and at least be a safe ton for you. So here's my number 2. Number 3, it's hard to get past this man who has absolutely been flying the last month, and that is Maxi Gawn. With the form he is in, it's probably disrespectful not to have him higher than this, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of players that just roll with him again this week. But Lloyd Meek is a very up and down matchup. He has been tougher in some weeks, but also easy in other weeks. I'm not expecting him to be a walkover by any stretch of the imagination compared to the last sort of 2-3 weeks that Max Gawn has had. So he will definitely be up against it with Lloyd Meek there. I also think the Hawthorn will come with a bit of a game plan to stop him. Being a Hawks man myself, I definitely feel like they'll have something just to mitigate his effect, because Sam Mitchell's a very good coach. There's no doubt that Max Gawn is the most influential player at Melbourne, so they will come with a bit of a plan to negate him, whether that's just pushing him around, stopping him from getting the contests, or just literally avoiding him at all cost. And I think the Hawthorn ball movement isn't solely this bomb down the line and just kick the contest. It's more run and dash, and that's not really going to suit the Max Gawn game style. I'm sure there will be times where Max absolutely racks up, where maybe their defense is too good and we're just bombing it down the line straight to him. So I think he will still be a very good option, but I don't see the 120, 130 that we have seen in the last couple of weeks. I think he'll just be a safe 100, maybe to 120 at most. Number 4 is the man that I'm trading in this week, and that is Josh Dunkley. Now, up against North, they have been giving up a fair few points recently. So Zack Merritt won 117 last week. You had Zach Butters the week prior to that, went 126, and George Hewitt the week before that went 123. So as of lately, they have been giving up a fair few points to midfielders. So that's why I've particularly targeted Josh Dunkley this week, just with him dropping in price just slightly. So yeah, I'm keen to trade him in, and I think he does go pretty big this week. He scored a 114 against them last year, so good record against them. Again, Ninja Stadium, bit smaller of a ground, probably means and helps those guys that love to tackle a fair bit, and that suits Josh Dunkley's game style to a T. So he starts there at number 4 for me. And last game of the round definitely is a pretty good option. My only thing that I would say in a moment is that I have to toss up between, captaining Josh Dunkley or captaining Harry Sheezel. In that last game there, having both of them, and yeah, I'm still very much torn, but I think I'm just going to go Harry Sheezel at this stage, just probably a bit more security off the halfback, not playing as accountable as such. So Josh Dunkley is there, number 4, and then number 5, again, I probably could have gone a more safer option, but I have gone with Jack McRae. I just think that the Friday night game suits his game style. I think the Carlton game style particularly, where they're very high contested with a lot of stoppages, so that means he's going to be around the ball a lot more. Lots of distribution, a fair few tackles in there as well. So I expect him to have a pretty nice 110 sort of score up against Carlton. They have been giving up a fair few points as well. Obviously Isaac Rankin went and Jordan Dawson. Why do I keep going Josh? Jordan Dawson both went 120 plus last week. Before that, we had Bailey Smith went 132, Jai Newcomb 142, and Tom Liberatore 142 way back in like round 1 or something like that. So it has been a little while, but no, they're giving up a fair few points, especially with the high stoppage game style. So that is my top 5. I don't think there's too many surprises in there for most people. Maybe the only one that I haven't included, who is my number 6, is a Lockie Whitfield. I think a lot of people would think he will be pretty good this week up against Geelong, and I do agree. I think he will be very good, and the form he is in is undeniable. Again, I just think Geelong are so unpredictable. We saw it last week. No one had tagged that Nick Dayos for a while, and Geelong just went, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to tag him the hardest he has been tagged in a long time. So I have this funny feeling again that Geelong will come with a bit of a plan to stop Lockie Whitfield off that halfback because he is that damaging. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned there. That's why he is slots in number 6. But he scored a 90 against Geelong last year. And I guess that was a little bit more of a flag that, again, he was in elite form last year and he just didn't get the job done against them. While the 90 is fine, it's not really what we're searching for when it comes to a captain option. But yeah, Geelong have been giving up plenty of points, not particularly to halfbackers, but mostly to midfielders, but there's plenty of points available for them, and we know what GWS like to do with their halfbackers. They just give them plenty of ball. So he slots in there at number 6 and still a great target if you're grabbing him. Number 7, I have gone with the same theme on halfbackers, and that is with Dane Zorko. Same matchup as Josh Dunkley, North Melbourne. Halfback there, Ninja Stadium. He scored a 111 there last year, and I think he has a pretty good record at Ninja Stadium, so in North Melbourne particularly. So I expect him to continue his resurge of form with, back-to-back tons in the last 2 weeks. So I expect him to go well again. Again, North Melbourne have been giving up a fair few more points recently, so again, they should go well. The only concern I may have with him is he could be up for a bit of a rest. Is Kitty Coleman potentially back this week, and how does that affect his role as such? So that's why he's further down the list. I don't have as much confidence there, especially with some inclusions, and potentially up for a rest if they are way in front, obviously being the best competition at the moment, and up against North Melbourne, who are lacking in a bit of form recently. So yeah, there's that. Numbers 8, I have gone with Zack Merritt. Super consistent, as he always is. You can always rely on him to have a good game. He's up against Sydney, so there's a potential tag is the only flag, I guess, with James Jordan there, but we all know that he's not performing as well as what he probably should have been or what he has in the past. So, yeah, loving what he is doing there. He went 122 in the first game last year, but went 64 in the second game, where I expect he had a lot of attention from a James Jordan, so he is a bit susceptible to that tag. I think that will be a bit different this year because he's playing a little bit of a different role where he's just being thrown forward, back, wherever he really fits. And I just don't know if James Jordan's going to go with him in all those positions. So, yeah, I think he'll be fine there as a pretty solid option if you have him. He's a $1.1 million player. You might as well captain him if you have him. So, yeah. And Sydney have been giving up a fair few points, especially. They are slowly getting a bit tougher as we go through. But, Josh Dunkley, 130. Luke Parker, 113. Harry Sheezer, 125. Nick Dayos, 136. Zach Butters, 114. And even last week, Finn Callaghan at 121 against them. So, plenty of points for midfielders against the Sydney Swans. So, I expect a good game from him. I guess a smoky one could be Caldwell off his injury. We obviously saw him in elite form to start the season, so he could also go big if you are looking to go there. I don't recommend it. It's the first time I've spoken about it, but yeah, I don't recommend it off the injury. But my number 9 player is probably a very safe option as well. Bailey Smith. Now, obviously no record against the likes of GWS in recent history, but he is averaging 126 at GMHBA so far this season. Now, that is over 2 games so far, so it's nothing amazing. But the reason why he's so far down is just GWS are the second hardest opposition at the moment for midfielders particularly. I'm not 100% sure if Bedford is going to be named or not. Obviously, teams aren't out just yet, but yeah, that would obviously be a huge factor whether they look to tag him, just give him a bit of attention. So that's why he's a bit further down the list. But if Bedford isn't named, definitely think he could rise up the ranks a little bit. He's been safe as houses, I think averaging about 115 so far this year. So unreal. So he's always a very safe option. And then number 5, I have gone with the likes of Marcus Bontempelli there. Just he gets it done. He's been in elite form since he's come back in his 3 games. Obviously got rested the first 2 games, but he's finding his way up against the Gold Coast Suns. Slippery conditions out to Darwin there could mean that he could get a fair few tackles, and it could be quite a contested game. So expecting him to have a pretty good one. I think I recommended him a little bit in terms of trading targets. I think he's number 4 on my list for midfielder. So if you're going there, I expect a pretty good score from him, but doesn't make my top 5. Just slots in at number 10 at the moment. A few other options that I could apologise to, I guess, would be the likes of Jordan Dawson up against Port Adelaide. Again, very tough matchup, but given it's a showdown, definitely could show up a fair bit. But I don't like to put the captaincy on these showdown matches because they can go either way very easily. Zach Butters, again, very similar reason, showdown. Who knows what's going to happen? Is someone going to give him a bit of attention to slow him down? Definitely could see that happening. So not convinced just yet on him. not looking at Lockie Neal. I could have thrown Toby Nankervis in at number 1 just to be a bit cheeky, but I haven't just yet. Just obviously with the West Coast matchup, we've seen 2 ruckmen now go massive against him, McFlynn particularly, so easily expecting him to go 120 plus this week. So I think I've seen a few of the other experts put Toby Nankervis in the top 5, so a bit cheeky from them, even though he's not fantasy relevant for us at the moment. Cherry just misses out my top 10. I thought he could have made it, but just the Brisbane matchup, I'm not super keen on it. I think it would just be a low ton at most. I don't see a 115, 120 coming in this matchup. Just Oscar McInerney, very tough matchup most weeks. So, yeah, I'm not looking there this week. Brayshaw up against Collingwood tonight. Collingwood are the toughest matchup at the moment for midfielders. Everyone's just struggling against them. So I just don't think I'm going there. And obviously the form last week wasn't there, so I don't think you're backing it in this week. But besides that, we're getting into some more unique options there, so I'll leave it there. What am I looking at doing? So again, my trades are the exact same. Nothing's changed there, but I'm probably going to go Dayos into Sheasel at the moment. So Dayos tonight and then rolling into Sheasel in the last game of the round. I may switch that on to Josh Dunkley, seeing how I feel in that last game. So we'll see how things go on there. But yeah, besides that, please consider final thoughts, I guess, for the round before I leave you guys to it. Is please look at your looping options. You know, I particularly for my team, I'm looking at looping a lot of players this weekend. You know, Boxall plays before Lindsay, so I'll be looping those 2. Reed plays before Trainer, so again, I'll be looping those 2. And then Cleary and Ashcroft, again, I'll be looking at those guys as well. So look at your looping options, try and get the most amount of points as you can every single week, and that will get you off to a pretty good start this round. So all the best, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Please leave a like, subscribe, do all those good things as you do. Besides that, I'll catch you guys in next week's video. Have a good weekend and go fantasy. Cheers.